Morning everyone, welcome back. I hope you're all doing really well. We just put some brownies in the oven, so I thought while they're cooking I'll just pop on and say hello and just introduce this week's video. So this week's video is going to be a little bit of everything vlog. I do have some sewing to do this week as well, but it's going to be the kind of sewing that I think I'm going to dip in and out of over the week. But yeah, I have something to make this week, so I thought I would film it and just share a nice, hopefully peaceful, relaxing sewing week in the life type vlog with a bit of everything thrown in. So the pattern that I really want to sew up this week is my Fibre Mood Norma blouse. So I mentioned recently, I think, that I wanted to make this as one of my sort of early spring summer makes. I thought it would be really nice and go with lots of things and hopefully be a good one to last me through the warmer months. The Fibre Mood Norma blouse is a bit of an old one for me. I've had this pattern for absolutely years, but I've never actually made it up completely as it is. So as you can see from the line drawings here, and I'll just pop in an image as well so that you can see the blouse made up. It's quite a simple blouse with a nice V-neck, just crosses over the front and buttons up. It's quite similar in style, I suppose, to the Anthea blouse, which I also love, but I think the difference here is obviously the V-neck. And I know that the sleeves on this one are slightly less puffy. They're a little bit more understated, I guess, than the Anthea blouse. So the fabric that I'm going to be making this blouse out of is this really beautiful cotton gauze fabric. This is not looking its best at the moment. It really needs a good press. I have pre-washed it, but I'm not actually pressing straight after I wash it at the moment because it just doesn't seem worth it. I found that when I washed and pressed all in one go, I would put the fabric away, and then when I came out to use it, I just need to iron it again. So at the moment, I'm just putting things away just as they're washed. And actually it helps me to know as well whether or not I have pre-washed a fabric, because they always look really creased up and as if they need an iron. They haven't got that starchiness to them. So yeah, this is a lovely gauze from Fabric Godmother. It's a cotton, but even though it probably doesn't look it at the moment in its creased up state, it's actually got quite a nice lightness to it. If I hold it up to the camera, it is quite bright in here, but hopefully you can see that it's got some little embroidered flowers all over it. It's so pretty, and I just had to snap it up when I saw that on the Fabric Godmother website. Yeah, Fabric Godmother at the moment have got some beautiful fabrics. I keep going on their website and being tempted by so much. This is actually the last fabric that I have in my stash that I have any plans for. So I think a bit later in this week, I'm actually going to tidy out my fabric boxes, and I might do that with you actually so that you can see what I've got left. But I actually really need to order some new fabric for some of my other sewing plans. So I really want to do that this week as well, because after this, I really don't have anything in my stash that I need to make up, which is always a good place to be in, I think. My plans for this morning are to go to our local Starbucks and do some work. So we've recently had a new Starbucks open quite near to us, and I thought I would go and test it out. As I mentioned just after Christmas, I think, I'm trying to get out of the house a little bit more. So when I do have admin and computer work to do, I'm trying to get out and go to a Starbucks or go somewhere else where I can just sort of get out of the house and do it. Because I do find that sometimes I just spend all my time in the house, and I'm very bad at doing that actually. I'm quite happy at home and I just get on with things, but I don't think it's always the best for my mental health. I think I'm one of these people who's quite introverted and very happy at home. The more time I spend at home, the more I want to be at home, and then it just makes me really unsociable. Maybe you'll know what I mean if you're similar to me as well, a little homebody. So yeah, I'm going to pop out and do that. It's the end of the month, so I've got quite a lot of admin-y bits to do. But I also really want to do some planning for Instagram, because as you'll know, if you're over on Instagram, it's Me Made May coming up. And I really want to take part this year. I want to get my Instagram posts sorted and planned a little bit so that I can actually try and share daily over on Instagram. I'm not going to put any pressure on myself, but one of the things that I really wanted to do this year was try and get myself back into Instagram, because as I mentioned, and I probably keep mentioning, I'm just not really finding my way over on Instagram at the moment. I don't feel like I'm properly into it. So maybe Me Made May will give me the boost that I need to get back into it. I love seeing everyone else's Me Made May posts as well. So I've got loads of reels footage and stuff that I've got on my phone and on my camera that I really need to just get edited and put onto my account. So if you don't know, reels are the like short form videos that you can post over on Instagram, and you can actually post them as YouTube shorts as well. So if you'll have seen the sort of quick fire short form videos that I now and again put up on my YouTube channel, they're called shorts, but they're also Instagram reels over on Instagram as well. So much to keep up with these days, but yeah, I really want to get stuff like that edited, so that's what I'm going to do in the cafe. But I thought I would just share with you my sewing plans and what I'm planning to make this week, because if I have time later, I'm going to try and get this blouse cut out so that tomorrow I can come back and hopefully do some sewing. This is the book that I'm baking my brownies from. It's Mary Berry's Baking Bible. I actually got this from the library recently. I'm not a massive cookbook owner because I tend to find lots of recipes and things online, but I love Mary Berry's recipes. I find them so easy to put together and I do love baking. So I've been requested by my daughter to make these chocolate chip brownies and they look absolutely delicious, don't they? So I have been recently trying to bake a lot more of our cakes and treats and things like that because I'm becoming more aware, as we probably all are, of the amount of preservatives and things that there are in sweet treats. So I think where I can, I'm going to try and bake and cook my own things more often. Been reading a lot of books lately about nutrition and things like that. Or maybe share a little bit more about what I've been reading later. Just wanted to pop on quickly before I go out and give a quick mention to my lovely bag, which you'll see quite a lot featuring my outfit photos and outfit videos and things like that. This is my Teddy Blake New York bag. It's called the Gigi Stampedo and it's a very sort of oversized tote bag. It's the bag that I take out whenever I do go and work in a cafe or anything like that because it's absolutely huge inside and I can fit everything in. So it will fit in like a laptop and my planner and a notebook and my earphones and all of those kind of things. I've taken everything out of this at the moment so that I can show you the inside, but if you look inside you can see it's really, really huge, and also it has this lovely little zipper pouch here that you can put your phone or your money or anything that's sort of delicate or valuable in there. So yeah, this bag has had quite a lot of use now and it's really held up over time. The leather on it is really beautiful and really hard wearing. Definitely one of my favourite bags. I just wanted to share that over on the Teddy Blake website they have a huge Mother's Day sale on at the moment. Here in the UK we had our Mother's Day back in March, didn't we? But in the US it's happening at the moment. So whether you're in the US or the UK, you can take advantage of up to 70% discounts on the website. They have a beautiful range of bags on their website, not only tote bags but also smaller bags and purses as well. So I'll leave the link to their website and my bag in the description below this video and I hope you'll pop over and check them out. It's the next day now and this morning hasn't gone quite according to plan. Let me explain why. So first of all, it's the 1st of May. It's Me Made May over on Instagram. Are you following along? Let me know in the comments and I can pop over and see what you're posting. I thought I would start enthusiastically and film a quick reel this morning of what I was wearing. And I'm not joking, I think short form videos take me longer even than YouTube videos. It took me an hour and a half to put together one reel, and then I wasn't really even happy with it either because the light in it was terrible. And anyway, I think I need to get over my perfectionism with reels on Instagram because I just get really, really picky with them and it ends up taking me so much time. And I really wasn't happy with my reel this morning, but I just thought I'm going to post it anyway because I really want to join in with Me Made May. And I really don't have time to spend another hour or so just filming the same reel over and over again. So anyway, that kind of delayed me a little bit, and then I didn't have time to cut out my blouse last night, so I wanted to do that this morning as well. When I came to open my Fibre Mood Norma pattern, I realised that part of it had never been cut out. So, because I'd only used the sleeves in the past, I hadn't actually cut out the front and back and the facings. And I don't know if Fibre Mood still do this. Obviously, the Norma blouse is one of their older patterns, but you actually have to add seam allowance to their patterns, which is really annoying. I hate it when pattern companies do that. So anyway, I needed to sort of stick together my PDF pieces that hadn't been cut and add the seam allowance. But when I came to try and do that, following my size, the fact was I just could not follow my size line, and it was so difficult that I just came to cut the facing and realised that I just really had no idea which line I was following. And yeah, because I was getting so confused with following the right lines and adding the seam allowance and everything, I just kind of got a bit unconfident with it all. And I thought, you know what, I'm just going to give the Norma blouse a miss this time, because the fabric that I've got for this blouse is so lovely. I don't want to end up messing it up because I haven't sort of cut the pattern properly. So I've done a bit of an about turn and I've actually gone back to the Anthea blouse, which was my other option for this fabric. So yeah, that's where I'm at. I've cut out the Anthea blouse now, so I'm all cut out and ready to go. But yeah, this fabric is just so lovely. I really didn't want to ruin it. So this is a double layer. It's actually quite see-through. It's definitely going to be one that I need to wear something underneath. But yeah, I really didn't want to waste that fabric because it is lovely, and also it wasn't the cheapest either. So yeah, we're sewing an Anthea blouse now. So I did spend a bit of time explaining the Norma blouse pattern to you at the beginning of this video. I won't cut that out because it still might be relevant to anyone that wants to sew a similar style blouse. If you haven't seen the Anthea blouse, it is very similar to the Norma. It just has a rounded neck and the sleeves are slightly puffier. So I feel a little bit sort of jittery and all over the place at the moment. I don't feel in the best place to start any sewing at the moment. So I think what I'm going to do is actually just go out and do some other work that I need to do this afternoon, like computer-based work, and then come back to this tomorrow when hopefully I will be feeling fresher and ready to start sewing. So instead of doing any sewing today, I thought I would just quickly share with you some books that I've been reading lately. So if you're not interested in reading, then feel free to sort of skip this part onto tomorrow, where hopefully I will be doing some sewing. But yeah, if you are interested in reading, these are what I've been reading lately. So I've been reading a couple of sort of self-help type books. I've been mentioning and talking about recently how I've been suffering with anxiety and insomnia and things like that. And when it got really, really bad, I found this book, and it's 4 Weeks to Better Sleep by Dr. Michael Mosley. And I picked this up and I was really sort of skeptical about it. I thought I would have heard everything that's been written about inside online, all the things about, you know, not going to bed on your phone and not watching things in bed and having a nice shower before you go to bed and all of those things. And I'd already tried all those things already. So I actually started it on the day that I got it, and I was absolutely hooked from the minute I started it. It's written so well. So it actually explains the sort of the science of sleep and things that affect your sleep and how your mind works, and gives you some tips and tricks obviously along the way for helping you get to sleep. But what I really liked about it was just the sort of the explanation of sleep basically, and how things that you do or don't do can really affect how you are or aren't sleeping. And I found it so interesting. So you read all the information and the science at the beginning of the book, and then at the back of the book it actually gives you a 4-week sleep plan, and it includes some recipes as well, because the book briefly talks about gut health and how what you eat and what you put into your body affects your sleeping as well. So it turns out that I actually didn't end up needing to follow the plan, or I haven't so far anyway, because the plan is actually quite strict and it involves sleep restriction therapy and stuff like that. You need to do it when you're sort of at your worst with insomnia really, and luckily for me, mine had actually started to improve at the time that I finished this book, so I haven't actually needed to put the plan into place, but I have taken bits and pieces from it. I still read right through the plan and I took away from it the things that I thought were useful for me. And if I ever get the insomnia again, then I will absolutely follow this plan, because I think it's been tried and tested. I know that when I spoke about insomnia, quite a few people commented and said that you were suffering as well. So I just thought I'd mention that in case it's helpful for you. Because I love Dr. Michael Mosley's book so much, I ended up buying this one, which is the Clever Guts Diet. I was so interested in what the sleeping book had to say about gut health and eating and nutrition and things like that, that I ended up buying this book just to learn a little bit more about all of that stuff. And I tell you, it's so interesting. I've not ever generally been someone that's been that interested in how the body works and what affects things like this before, but I'm really getting into it now. I think that sort of period of insomnia and anxiety and everything, it really got me interested to find out more about how my body was actually working and how my mind was dealing with everything. And it really got me thinking about my diet and things that I eat. And one of the things that I said at the beginning of the year as one of my kind of resolutions was that I really wanted this year to focus on my health. So I have been going to the gym and everything, and I really want to try and eat better. I've never been a great cook, and I've always been quite a lazy cook. Cooking doesn't really interest me. I'd rather just grab something quickly and go. But obviously with the children and everything, I've had to learn to be better over the years. But I think as I'm sort of getting older now and changes are beginning to happen to my body and all that kind of stuff, I really want to focus on nutrition. So similar to the sleeping book, this one actually goes into quite a lot of detail about how lots of foods affect your guts. And how your gut is working actually affects lots of other things like anxiety and sleeping and all of those kind of things. And it gives you quite a lot of information if you're someone that suffers from like gut health issues like IBS or Crohn's disease or things like that. So yeah, I thought I would mention that as well. It's similar to the sleep book in a way in that it's half information and then the other half of the book is just filled with recipes and things, which I'm looking forward to trying out. But it also gives you a 4-week plan again of how to heal your gut if you feel as though that would be helpful. So yeah, I'm actually looking forward to reading a few more of his books. I think he has quite a few books out on the market, so I'm going to have a look at those too. I'm going to pop out now and do my work, and then hopefully I will catch up with you tomorrow for some more sewing. I realise I'm sort of halfway through this video and I haven't actually done any proper sewing yet, so please bear with me. I really hope that I will have a finished blouse by the end of this video to share with you.
Keep diving into concrete, so bittersweet, huh? Keep losing sleep while driving in the backseat. What's left of me? Drowning in what feels just like an ocean. Negativity is getting closer. Hard to keep the heat when it gets colder, you know. Sometimes everything just gets hard. Sometimes everything just gets harder. Feeling like I'm missing some parts. Days just keep on getting much darker. Even when I'm down in the lower, I remember what you were saying. Sometimes all you need is a spark, and maybe just a better kind of bitter. Lose gravity, I'm swimming in the quicksand. To my knees, keep losing sleep. I'm manic, dream at midnight. So hard to please. Drowning in what feels just like an ocean. Negativity is getting closer.
Morning everyone, it's the next day now and I've finally started sewing. So I am working my way through the stages of the anthier blouse. At the moment I've just pinned together and sewn the shoulder seams, and before that you actually have to interface and turn under the button band. So the anthier blouse has quite a narrow bottom band to it, so it is quite fiddly to press and turn under, but it's quite enjoyable at the same time if you kind of like fiddly sewing, which I do. So now I just need to sew together the side seams and overlock those, and then we're on to the neckline binding. So I thought I would just pin and chat. So this morning, before I started sewing, I had a little clear out of my fabric baskets and discovered that I do have a few fabrics in there that I haven't yet sewn up, that I do have some vague plans for. There was some navy floral viscose in there, which I got last summer, which I need to sew into a pair of sapphire trousers, just quick and easy sew, because I have a pair of navy floral sapphire trousers which I've absolutely worn to death over summers past, and they go with everything, so I just really need to sort of replace those. So I'm hoping that should be a quick and easy job. And there's a couple of fabrics in there as well. The other two viscoses, there's like a sunflowery one and a pink one. And those were bought for my daughter for some things that I was going to make for her, and then I never got around to finishing off sewing them up. So I'm going to see if she wants anything made from those still. And if she doesn't, then I might have a think about what I can make from those. So I may have a go at those projects. Oh, I've also got some crepe in there as well for an Ogden cami, which I was going to try and put a lacy trim around. So yeah, I might just have a go at those few things before I do buy any more fabric, but I do really want to get on with my cream dawn jeans. And also, I don't know if you've seen around on the high street, but there seem to be Ilford style jackets around everywhere at the moment, and quite a few sort of really cropped ones, which I quite like the look of. So something in me is really wanting to make a cream cropped Ilford jacket. So I need to buy quite a lot of cream denim, it seems, or cream twill or something like that. And then another Ilford jacket that I would quite like to sew is like an oversized denim one, because that's another thing that I keep seeing around, really sort of 80s and 90s style big oversized denim jackets. And I thought they would work well as an Ilford pattern too. So I'm going to have a think about that one. I thought I hadn't done any TV chat for a while. So has anyone watched Baby Reindeer on, I think it's on Netflix or something like that, but we've been recently watching that and it was so good. But I would say watch it with caution. It's quite shocking in some areas, but it was probably the best and most well-written thing I've watched in a long time. And it was very interesting to hear the story. Obviously, I won't say too much about the story, but it's basically about a man who gets stalked by a lady and his sort of journey with that and what happens to him, and about the people's life stories that are involved in it as well. And it actually turns out that the person that wrote the Netflix series was actually the person that it happened to. So he's basically writing his life story or writing his own experience. And I just found it so interesting. So I won't say any more than that, but I would highly recommend it. And then we are now on to Slow Horses, which I think is also, it can't be on Netflix actually. It might have actually been on BBC. That's like an MI5 spy type drama, and that's pretty good as well. So I thought I would just recommend those. That's what I'm watching while I'm knitting at the moment in the evening. So let's get these side seams sewn, and then I'm going to make a cup of tea and catch up with you in a bit. I'm a bit worried about this situation that I have here. Can you see? This was a little notch for the button band, but it's kind of frayed open a little bit. I'm really going to have to watch that when I come to do the neckline binding, because the neckline binding seam is really narrow, so I really need to make sure that I just catch that little rip in. It is that kind of fabric that feels as though it might unravel, so you do have to handle it with care. But it's very pretty, isn't it?
I remember what you were saying. Sometimes all you need is a spark, and maybe just a better kind of bitter.
You know those bits of sewing advice that you're given but you rarely follow? One of mine is to do your gathering stitches in a different coloured thread. I hardly ever do that because I'm always too lazy to change the thread. But this time I've done it and I just used some bobbins that need the thread using up on them. Because the fabric is so white, I didn't want my white gathering stitches to get lost in the fabric and sort of sew over them and everything, and I didn't want any chance of any ripping with unpicking and all of that kind of stuff. So the sleeves are half put together. Done the gathering at the top and bottom. The sleeves are absolutely huge, look at them. They're so big because obviously they're so puffy at the top and bottom. So next what we need to do is put the cuffs on the bottom. So gather in all of the bottom of this cuff into a nice little sort of cuff band thing. It always looks really nice and neat when it's done. So I'm going to do that now. I think this blouse tends to feel like it's coming together really quickly. It's a really nice blouse to sew. Obviously I don't want to jump too far ahead because the last bits are quite time consuming, obviously, because the cuff is quite fiddly and then you've got to gather your sleeves in and all of that, and also do all the little buttonholes. So yeah, it feels like it's coming together quickly, but I think sometimes it's easy to underestimate how long those little last stages take. So let's get the cuffs in. little bit of time has passed since I last spoke to you, even though it probably doesn't feel like that. Those sleeves were slightly traumatic in the end because basically the fabric is quite difficult to gather because the thread just wants to get stuck on the embroidered bits. So even though I'd been really careful not to sew over my coloured thread, when I came to pull out the gathering threads, it would just get stuck on the embroidered bits and I'd have to try and unpick it. And it's really quite stressful to have to unpick this fabric because, as I say, the weave in it is quite loose and you feel as though you're gonna sort of unpick the whole thing. I'm really glad that I didn't have to unpick any seams while I was sewing this because I think that would have been an absolute nightmare. Anyway, the sleeves are in now. Oh yeah, the other thing that happened was that I managed to sew in a whole sleeve head without any bobbin thread. And I'd obviously unpinned the whole sleeve and I was just about to rip out the gathering threads and thought something doesn't feel right here. Realised I was sewing the whole of the sleeve without any bobbin thread, so I had to repin the sleeve back in and sew it again. So that was handy. So I've pretty much done all the sewing now except for the buttonholes. I've done the hem as well. It's just a ½ centimetre and then ½ centimetre again, quite a narrow, sorry, ½ inch and ½ inch again, narrow hem. Yeah, we're looking pretty much done. I'm going to have a little bit of a break now and have some lunch, and then I'm going to go and see what kind of buttons I have for this. I'm slightly concerned actually about how the buttonholes are going to go with this embroidered fabric, and part of me wondered whether I should have a look at poppers instead and try and put some poppers on, but I don't really like the finish of poppers. I prefer an actual button, so I'll maybe do a little buttonhole practice on a bit of scrap fabric. I always do that anyway, but I do feel as though it's a bit of a waste of time sometimes because, as you'll probably know, sometimes your practice goes fine and then when you come to sew your actual garment, it will still cause problems because whatever you're sewing on your actual garment is obviously slightly different to what you're doing on your test. So yeah, I'm going to have a think about that and I will let you know what I decide. Right, so we are all done. I've got my buttons on now. Luckily I had quite a lot of buttons. Well, I say that. I have quite a few white buttons, but they're all in different sizes and all different shades of white. You have to be so careful with white buttons. I think it's kind of similar to black, like you wouldn't think it, but there are so many different shades of white and black. And sometimes, you know, if I've got an off-white on this, it just wouldn't have looked right at all. But luckily I had these little fisheye buttons in my button tin. So yeah, I've gone with those. The buttonholes all went fine except for the very top one here because where the binding is, it gets quite thick where I've turned it under and the machine wasn't having any of that with this being too near the edge. So in the end, because I very rarely wear these blouses, or with my other one anyway, I very rarely wear it fully buttoned up. So I decided to just sew the button on for show and just leave that and hopefully it won't be too obvious. Yeah, I'm so pleased with this. I'm really glad it turned out to be an Anthea blouse in the end. I don't know if I'm just pleased because that's the way things turned out, but I think it works really nicely as an Anthea. So yeah, I'm gonna tidy up my sewing mess now and try this on, and hopefully at the end of the video I'll just put in some photos or video or something to show you the finished blouse and how it looks and everything. I think my main takeaways from this pattern are that I forget how much gathering there is involved in it, and gathering isn't my favourite thing. But I do think there's like no pain, no gain with gathering because I love how gathering looks, but I just hate doing it. And it was a bit of a pain in this fabric, as I say, but apart from that, if I hadn't had that trouble with the sleeves, I think this would have come together really quickly. I think it's like a 3 to 4 hour sew really. So yeah, I managed to get all of that sewing done in one day. Whereas I originally started the video saying that I was going to spread the sewing out over the week. It just didn't work out that way in the end. But I've had a very nice full sewing day today, so that's been good. So I'll leave the video here. Thank you so much for joining me again today. I hope you've enjoyed the video. I've deliberately kept things long this time because I know sometimes people prefer a longer video. Some people prefer the sort of short, quick fire videos, so it's just about trying to find the right balance. Take care everyone, and I look forward to seeing you very soon. Bye.
Keep losing sleep while driving.